It's time for our opening drive, the Compas opening drive. Gilbert, I gotta ask you.
See, ready.
Everybody, everybody keeps on talking about the top prospects and everything. The top two quarterbacks. Let's talk about the rest of the guys. We got to give them more love. Anthony Richardson, Will Levis, and Hendon Hooker. What do you think are the best landing spots for each of them?
Yeah, Fernando. People are itching for NFL draft content, and they can't get enough of the quarterbacks because,
By the
you
way, I
know,
saw Hendon Hooker keeps on rising in some people's mocks. But right now everything's smoke and mirrors. But
yeah,
it's interesting to see.
that's the thing. But I'll get to my concerns on Hendon Hooker a little later. It's like I don't know what to believe sometimes, but I'll get into that
Yeah,
one. But what makes a draft fun is when like there's good quarterbacks, but there's not a for sure number one. Like there's not like okay, it's Trevor Lawrence and that's it, or Andrew Luck or whatever it is. But like you don't know if this quarterback class is gonna be really good or maybe like mediocre. But you feel like when there's five, there might be one that's definitely a star. And with Bryce Young, it feels like he's small, but like he was a little bigger, he'd probably be for sure number one guy. You
yeah.
no hesitation. And then CJ Stroud's a bigger guy, but not as athletic. But they're for sure going to be 1 and 2.
And who would have thought that Josh Allen would have been the superstar of his class with Rosen, Sam Darnold? I mean, Lamar Jackson's still there and he's still
Yeah, and he
good.
was number 32, by the way.
Exactly. But
But yeah, Rosen,
everybody thought the
Darnold,
kid from
Mayfield.
Wyoming was not going to do anything.
There's always one, and I think that might have been the only time in the NFL draft history. Might be wrong here.
Oh, and
Where
Baker Mayfield was in that one too.
four quarterbacks were top 10, like you mentioned,
Yeah.
Mayfield, Darnold, Rosen, and Allen. So here, I'm not sure if we'll get four or that was what it said four, right?
Yeah.
But for sure three, I think so. I think people are let's start there. Anthony Richardson, people are very intrigued on his upside, his potential. And I wrote this not too long ago at si.com. It's like, yes, there's so many quarterbacks that just don't hit. Remember Jameis Winston and Mariota went 1-2. Jared Goff has mixed results, but then Carson Wentz was 1-2. He did not do well. We just mentioned Zach Wilson and Trey Lance, but something about Anthony Richardson that intrigues me when you mentioned the elite kind of physical traits, things you've never seen before on an NFL football field. It reminds you of Cam Newton, and Cam Newton, yeah, he's not the most polished thrower, but he still had good results. So if that's kind of like the floor, that's not a bad risk. But if the upside is like, hey, if he puts it together, is he Josh Allen? Is he Justin Herbert? Is he Patrick Mahomes? What? I think for me, that's where you take a chance and say, F it, you know what? Let's trust. I think you've said it before, Fernando. Trust your coaches, bring them in, develop a scheme, and get it going. And my pick here, real quick. Do you want to go quarterback at a time, or should I go through real quick?
Yeah, let's do a quarterback at a time, I guess.
Okay. My pick for Anthony Richardson is Detroit Lions, Ben Johnson, the OC. I want to see his creativity, design plays for Anthony Richardson, and then Jameson Williams, DeAndre Swift. Who's the new running back they just got? Montgomery.
Yeah.
Amon-Ra
St. Brown.
Amon-Ra St. Brown. All these pieces with a creative play caller for Anthony Richardson, I will be very intrigued for a good team like that.
I'm going to go with the Colts. I think that, but the Colts need to do. I think the Colts would need to sit him for a little bit, at least let him gain maybe that Kurt Warner, Eli Manning kind of thing where you sit him for the first like 10 weeks of the season. If you're completely out of it, then you throw him in there and let him go in there and see what he can, what he's learned so far. But I think the Colts would be a good one. You've seen the way that Shane Steichen has worked so far with Justin Herbert, with Jalen Hurts. And then obviously he had worked with Phillip Rivers in the past. So it'd be interesting to see kind of his body of work with Anthony Richardson. I think Anthony Richardson would benefit being with him, with a guy like with Shane Steichen, a play caller like that. So I'm going to go Shane Steichen, or I'm going to go with the Colts.
I like Shane Steichen as a QB guru because Jalen Hurts and Justin Herbert, like you mentioned, great results right there.
Yeah. The next quarterback, I guess I'll go next. My bad. Let's go with Will Levis. Will Levis is a guy that you don't know. I mean, and I had already talked about this. He's kind of a freak. He puts mayonnaise in his coffee.
Check it out.
Banana. Yeah. Check out a TikTok that I made on Compas on the Beat. Definitely interesting stuff. Will that make him drop in the draft? But he's kind of a guy that nobody knows. Like, could he be a Justin Herbert or could he be a bust? Like, nobody really knows about him. Like, they're blaming his coaches now about like why he didn't perform as well. But it's like, can you really blame the coaches? Like, it's not really like on them. It's kind of on him. Because I mean, I remember coming out of college, everybody was blaming. I know I'm harping on it, but like people were blaming Justin. But then you see him in the NFL, and you're like, well, now whose fault really is it? Like that Justin couldn't have put up like he didn't put up that numbers like him or Josh Allen when he was in college. So it's going to be interesting to see what Will Levis is. But I have him going to the Minnesota Vikings. Why? Because I think Levis can sit for a year. I think that he learns behind Kirk Cousins, which you want him to learn kind of the good stuff from him. And then obviously Kevin O'Connell's a OC winning or Super Bowl winning OC. He's been there. He's done that. He's been around the NFL for a while. He was with Washington. He played with the Patriots. He's been around the Chargers and now and then with the Rams with Sean McVay. And now he's the head coach in Minnesota. So I feel like Will Levis with Minnesota, it could help him grow as a quarterback and as a signal caller.
Yeah, Fernando, I'm going to be boring here too. I'm going to copy your answer and just we're not kind of repeating here. I'm going to go off of that. Kevin O'Connell, he kind of runs a similar scheme to Sean McVay because that coaching tree there. And Will Levis's best year in college was 2021 when Liam Cohen was the OC for Kentucky. Liam Cohen has spent a lot of time with Sean McVay, even worked together with Kevin O'Connell. So just being familiar with the scheme, that might help him out. And then, like you mentioned, sit out a year, but sit for a year. And learn from Kirk Cousins, whatever you can from there.
Yeah,
but I think just learning the scheme and just kind of figuring out, because the one thing about Will Levis and why I copied you is because I don't know about this guy's, potential because he had so many mistakes last year. And I want to say he's like a 4th-year quarterback or maybe a 5th year. And I saw like stories about he couldn't win a job at Penn State versus some guy you never heard of. That's a red flag. But then again, Joe Burrow couldn't win a job at Ohio State. So you never know when guys are ready to go. So being familiar with the scheme is big. The reason why I like Anthony Richardson better is, I think he just, needs more time to play. Like you have his untapped potential, and he's only had 1 year starting. Will Levis is a lot of tape out there. When you're that shaky and inconsistent, it's very concerning. But you're in a familiar scheme, maybe you figure it out, because 2021, like when Liam Cohen came into the Rams last year, people were raving about Will Levis. I'm like, should I watch college football for this guy? And then it was like, never mind, he was pretty bad.
Yeah, no, you're right. Joe Burrow was all over the TV on Saturday at UFC.
Oh yeah,
for
Nick
the
Bosa, Bosa too.
Joey Bosa, Nick Bosa was there too. Joey Bosa still growing out the hair. That's going to be interesting to see. They said no, but I think him and Justin really are competing to see who has the best hair because Justin keeps on growing it out. So is Joey. So definitely interesting. Last quarterback Gilbert is a Hendon Hooker. What do you think?
Yeah, for Hendon Hooker, I will start off, and I don't know if Victor. I think Victor does like this. Victor producer told me about this, but only if the Raiders come back and get Hendon Hooker at the back end of the first round. I don't think he will like it in number 7 overall. There was one, I forget the guy from ESPN, the former GM, who said that the Seahawks should take Hendon Hooker number 5 overall. That was pretty crazy.
What's his name from the Jets?
Yeah, but I'm blanking on the name. But
Tannenbaum.
There you go. And that's kind of crazy talk. And, I am working on a story, by the way, on SI.com about, all these draft prospects. I've been talking to people about Hendon Hooker. And the bad thing is a lot of people say, like, if you look at Tennessee's scheme, like, they do everything for him. Like, everything has to be perfect for the guy. It's all schemed up well, and it's very concerning. And then he has a torn ACL. So that's a problem. So a scheme like the Raiders, where like it's a lot of play action, maybe feed it to Josh Jacobs for a year, and then you figure it out. Maybe not a bad approach, but the people that do like him, they like his size, they like his arm strength, they like how mature he is. Like, he's 25 years old. You got to be mature. He's a smart player, so maybe it fits the right system. I don't know if the Raiders are the right system, but if he learns behind Jimmy G, maybe he does okay.
In a perfect world, Jimmy G is your quarterback for the whole year, and you're maybe competing there, so you don't have to bring him in. When you said a perfect world, you know who I had him for at the beginning? I had him going to the Chiefs. I thought the Chiefs take a shot on him. They keep him on the bench. He learns from Andy Reid, because you said they did everything for him. Maybe Andy Reid does everything for him. But then I thought, you know what? No, like, I don't think the Chiefs will go. Maybe they'll go quarterback later. Like, Charger fans are pissed off because the Chargers are working out quarterbacks. Why do we have to work out quarterbacks? Easton Stick 2.0, this, that. And I'm like, dude, they just work out guys just to work them out. Like, it's not like they're not replacing Justin or anything. But the Detroit Lions, like you said, Ben Johnson, I think he would be a good, and Jared Goff doesn't get injured. He's always in there. So I think he'd be a good, Ben Johnson would be a good guy to kind of mentor him, bring him up, and hopefully he could be their quarterback of the future, because I hope I'm not wrong. His contract's up after this year, right, Goff?
I think he has another year, but you could get out of it easily
after this year,
in the offseason. So
so there you go. Yeah, so I
And
like
they
him
have
to
a
the
second
Lions.
first round pick, so number 18 wouldn't be too bad.
There you go.